Oh, hope your break was as fun as mine was. Again, my name's Rob. I'm streaming now on the Saturdays and Sundays. I might be doing now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday again, but early in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, like 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'll keep you guys up to speed with that, but definitely Saturdays and Sundays at the moment. What we're working on today is the Pixel Horse Studios infrastructure. So that includes a number of different things. We have a web API, which is kind of running everything. We're working on the auth services module currently. We have an MVC, which will be attached to it just as a client. That'll be the front side of all of the infrastructure, the website where you can log in, say with Twitch or with any one of your other credentials. It'll auth you. You have access to all the things on the website. Then there's a application that we've been developing called Ali.chat, which is a message routing bot. So we're going to be incorporating that as well. And then that's through a Windows service. So we'll be creating a Windows service using TwitchLib and Discord.net, which will do routing for each one of the different messages based on the settings that you put it on the MVC. And then we're going to wrap that into the interactive overlay, which I already have developed. So if you haven't, click the follow. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Got a really active and supportive community. Make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorsestudios.com. And also, I'm a part of the team Indie Dev here on Twitch, so make sure you check them out. And why don't we go ahead and jump on in? Okay, so when we left off, we got this weird HTML error when we tried to issue our token request off the template. Let me see, we have a couple of things here. I never learned... usually I don't. I've never learned C#, and I'm now learning with the Twitch bot. First program I ever run C#. Because the Twitch wheel is pretty good. Yep, I recommend using the Twitch lib and extend from that. My bot is almost done, though. If it's almost done, I mean, it's almost done. And yeah, you can use pieces of it if you want as well. Okay, so we're going to fix that right now. Excuse me. Let me start my time again. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have our dependency injection container here on my web API for when we're hitting this. So here, I want to go to my web, not this one. I want to make a new seed here, and it's going to be called I need to install a package, and it's called my unity.web API onto my web API project. Just waiting for NuGet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add into we're going to add in what are those called, instances maps inside of the Unity container as soon as this thing decides to load it. There we go. I'm on there, baby. All right. Don't care about any of that. Over here in the Unity config, we need to do a gross. We'll be changing all this because we got to put Swagger on it. But here we have to register our type. So we have a container.register type. And then we're going to have a bunch of these. And so my first one here is probably like a I context base to my context base. And then we could probably take this one out later because I think that these ones don't matter. All right, let me take a look here. We got to start down here at my my library. So we don't have any interfaces in any of these things. We're not using interfaces for my library files. For my data access layer, it looks like I have a context base, which I've already put in there. Why are those under separate namespaces? core data access layer.context. This is under core data access layer.context. So they aren't data access layer.context, data access layer.context. Okay. Why is this not taking? Requires one type argument. So the type argument that it's going to take is itself, which is a little funny. Oh, no, it's not. It's a DB context like that. Okay, boom. Next one we have to do is the repo. No, repo doesn't have one. So our unit of work has one. Right? And then this one has a type that is different than this. It's a context base. So that would be a just a second. I'm fine with that. Okay. And then I need to have, okay, let me see. Well, this is how a C# should look like. Mine is one huge file of 1,500 lines of code. Breaking up files is good for your eyes. It's good for my head. Then unit of work has a context base. We did that one. And then also I need to have my service down here, which is my service base. So let's add that one. And service base needs to pass in a type unit of work base, which will be a I unit of work base. Okay. Next one is going to be, oops, you have to rinse and repeat these three for each module. So this is going to be for the core module. This one will be for the auth module. Okay, so here we're going to do a I context auth, right? This one's going to be a context auth. And because of the static pattern that we have, we just give it a reference to, I think, a DB context. But I think this one actually doesn't have one. I unit of work auth. This one takes in a base of my context auth. Just a moment. Like that. Dextros420 Moobot says, you don't need to register abstract-based classes for... Hey, thank you very much, Dextros420, for that follow. Very much appreciate that. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Got a really active and supportive community. Moobot, I'm still glad you're here. I have still more other things for you, actually, as we could do. You don't need to register abstract-based classes for your dependency injection. It should not work because you cannot create an instance of the abstract type. Yep, that's actually what I was thinking as well. But at work, I've always struggled a little bit with this. When registering types, sometimes it works, sometimes, I mean, it's just a matter of practice, right? So let's go ahead. You got a good point. Let's pull those out. What you need is to register the explicit implementations. Yeah, so these ones here. And then this one is my unit of worth auth is requiring of a type base, but it doesn't have a type. And then my iService auth. Thank you, Moobot. I'd give you some pixels if we had that part of the bot running at the moment. And then service auth here is no types on that one. Nope. Easy enough. Let's try it out. So theoretically, our auth module should work, and then we're probably going to switch over and use an external authorization server, unless I have an alternative question for you guys, which is that we could jump over and we could start to use Twitch lib and get that start to set up. Yeah, Revlo went belly up. So goes it. Okay, here's our site. No, it's still giving me an error. So let me take a look at what's going on in the startup. All right, well, this is terrible. So we're going to fix the authorization server now. Let me close all this down, and I want to show you guys a secret. If you come down to Google, you can type in C# auth server. And right here for 2013. But I promise you it'll work great. So you download this guy's package. This is up on MSDN. When this gets done, I'll show you. And now the thing that I need to show you is the OAuth 2.0 protocol. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with this protocol, but this is the key to doing authorization if you want to do 2.0. There are these 4 types: authorization code, implicit, resource owner, password credentials, and client credentials. They're kind of explained here, and pretty well, depending on how you can read documentation like this, as well as a bunch of other terms. But so authorization code, Authorization code is how we'll be doing the web application. And so what happens is when you log in on an authorization code OAuth, you actually go to a different URL, which is on the auth server, which then sends you back after you log in successfully an authorization code, which then it also passes, then you have to pass it one more time to get a token, and then you use the token over on your resource server in order to hit it. And so we will be doing that with our MVC, but instead of me having to manually write this, we can use this package which already has these 4 flows implemented. Implicit is the same kind of idea as authorization code. It's designed for a single page application, so you'll never actually get a refresh token. Theoretically, you just get access tokens that you keep refreshing prior to logging out of the page. Resource owner password credentials. This is the one that I use actually for when I have different client applications that are talking to each other. It's server side, server side. So what it is that you have a client ID and a client secret, and then also a username and a password, and those are being sent. And that needs to be done when it's mostly secure, because I mean, what we're trying to do is put some kind of layers of security to help with interceptions. And then also client credentials are just when it's you're just strictly sending the client credentials across. So instead of us having to write that, what we're going to do is, just a moment, I'm pulling it up, is that we can bring in this project right here. Okay. And inside of this project, we have a number of fun different little pieces. And so let's bring them out. You can always donate to the channel if you want me to get a faster computer. I'm just playing. All right. Okay. And so we're probably going to just import. How do we want to do this? Let's bring in. Let's show the example project. So this is the Microsoft example project, and we're going to actually import this authorization server, and then we're going to hook it up to our services that we've set up. All right. All right. So here we have these different client applications that represent the authorization code, the resource flow. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start up this authorization server. And this has a number of different paths and fake clients in here. Okay. Look at that, it's forbidden. What a shocker. That's because all this is a resource provider. So now we can use one of our different client applications, for example. Let's say we wanted to do something with like a client credentials grant. Now let's do a resource owner credential grant. We just run that instance. And it'll show you that it's receiving a token. So now that was its access token. Oh, why did it do that? Am I allowed to send a GitHub link in here? Sure. I don't care. As long as they're clean links, I don't care. So let's try that again. Run this one here. And so it's going to receive a token from the OAuth server, which is really, really, really nice. And then it says that it's coming in as an access protected resource. And then it's going to try and hit my resource server, which is not running. But if I run it, let's run this again. And now you can see that it's receiving successfully the username. because it's able to access the protected resource, right? Yep. So that's the flow that we're going to be following. So let's go ahead and close this thing down. Take the piece that I want, which is the Auth Server, this one, and then we'll bring that into our project, which is down here, this one. We're going to open up this one. We're going to have a new folder in here. We're going to call this my resource, and then we're going to call this a server, or a auth. Okay, let's open this one up. I got to close this for a second. Okay, so Moobot sent this over to me. Identity Server 3. It's a .NET Katana-based framework. It, Just looking to see what's in this. Access token. No. I just want to actually just peruse what it's got. There we go. All right. Yes. Moobot, when I'm offline, I'm absolutely going to be using this. Thank you for sending this to me. This will be my new server because the one I'm using is old and I've been looking for a better one for some time. You can swap to folder view in the Solution Explorer. You just paste the files right in there. Well, I'm really happy with that. Is that yours, Moobot, or is that just somebody's you have? Wait, you could swap to the folder view in the Solution Explorer and then you just paste the files. All right. Did I close it? I closed the whole thing. So let's reopen the project. Okay, second. Moobot, tell me about the background of where you found that server, because that's pretty awesome, man. That's exactly what I've been looking for. Wait for this thing to load here. Switch to file, you're at it, and paste this. So let's put these two in the resource. Let's open up our auth. And I'm just going to paste that into my client web API. Stupid, Rob. Stupid. You didn't even do it. And then you need to add in here your auth. We'll just change that later, okay? Just want to keep moving. Okay. We are using this at our company as authorized. We mod a little bit, but since about 3 years, it's worked pretty well. This is the one that I'm using, believe it or not. I put it in, so I'll be swapping over and looking at this as soon as we're offline today. Okay, I don't care about that. So now let's add in our auth server. That's what I'm looking for, man. I knew there was something out there, Moobot. I just didn't know where it was. Okay, so when we look at what this one has given to us, unless you want to, I mean, when we're offline, if you want, you can hit me up at liverdevtrying@gmail.com, and I'd love to kind of work through that one with you, or make sure you join the Discord at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. So on this register routes, we're fine there. On my, okay, so this authorization server is pretty stripped down, and the only things on it are my routing and then also my startups. I have something that refers to the paths of where the tokens will be, but I'll just add those in here. So we'll just do an OAuth/token. We might as well add in those paths too, so why don't we do that? Let me go ahead and add in this add a new existing project. And then we want to go to my paths file here. It's constants. And then let's add this into my auth here. that one. Okay, and then this one we can send that back to what it was. And that should be fine. Okay. Show me enjoy stored. Oh, all right, Voltec. You got it, man. Okay. All right. So now what we have here is that we're going to have a couple of different types of authorization which can happen here. Let's go ahead and start to strip this thing out so it makes more sense to me. We need to create something here called providers. And in providers, we need to have something called a simple authorization provider, code provider. And then we also need to have a the hell is it? Oh, here we go. Just another second. Perfect. Okay, so what I have here is I have something called the simple authorization code provider. I need to have another one in here. We're going to call it a simple authorization server provider. And then the next one here is a simple refresh token provider, right? So when I look at the authorization server provider, which is doing the majority of the heavy lifting, it's going to be on OAuth authorization server provider. That's what I'm overriding. And how do I know what that's coming from? Well, if I pull this over here, if I look back down here at my, if I look at my startup, here, use authorization servers. It's right here. This use authorization server provider. So what we're going to do is that we're going to actually change this over to here. So the first one is that we want to change this validate client redirect URL. We want to grab these and pull this one over here. The next one that we want to grab is validate, grant, and grant. Okay. Here we are. Oops. And we need to add the appropriate namespaces. Oops. And a new claims identity and a new generic identity. These need to be marked as overrides. So these go down like this, and it's going to be I don't know if they're public or protected. There we go. So they're publics. Okay. Although this one doesn't like me. Client. Oh. Grant client credentials. So there's one more here that it's not finding for me. Just a second. We'll get it. Public override. Grant client credentials. Hey, Doc99, thank you for that follow. Very much appreciate that. If you have any questions, please make sure you pop them into the channel. We've got a really active and supportive community. Thanks for being a part of it. Let's grab this stuff here, and then we're going to delete the rest. Oops. And then we're going to delete the rest of that method. And then we'll bring this one here. Okay. And so now, here, where we have this new authorization provider, we can change this out for my new simple authorization code provider. Like that. Okay? Now, sorry. There we go. Okay. So now when we look at my simple authorization server provider, let's look at what's actually happening in here. The first thing it's doing is it's redirecting it to this URL, right? This client URL, but that's currently coming out of a static class from the template. So actually, why don't we do a couple of things to make this project mine? First thing is that we're going to say that this is my phs.webapi.auth. Second one is we'll do it here. And then the third one is here. We'll just rename, we'll just find and replace this in my current project. Okay, so how do we correct this? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to create the authorization server constructor, and then we're going to inject my iServices auth that we wrote. So we need to add in here a reference over to my web API service auth. Wait. Nope. VHS web API data access. No, it's this one. Because this one has in it web API. There it is. Okay. So now we can have a version of it. And then we can, like that. And now I can actually use it. So now if my, and now we're going to do my await service auth dot, and check it out. Here we go. So I don't have anything here about a client. So let's go back to my services, and we need to add in some client stuff. So we're going to need to have in here a public virtual async task of my client view model, which is going to be called a create client async, which is going to be passing over a client view model. And then we'll also need to have a public virtual async task of my client view model called my read client async, and that's going to need a string, oh no, it's an integer of my client ID, and then also a string of my client password secret. And then we'll have another version of it. With just the ID. And then we're going to need to be able to have a update. This one's a bool, right? Why are these reads? Get rid of that one. Okay, and then this one needs to pass over here a client view model, right? And then also we're going to have a public virtual async task bool called delete client async. And that's just going to be a ID. And I guess up here you also need to have a public virtual async task of my client view model called my get client async of my GUID. So let's fill them up. Okay, the first one here, client view model. I need to add a reference from my auth server over to my library auth. Okay, I don't have client view model created yet. So down here under my lib, under my view models, we need to create a new class called client view model. Okay, we could just copy and paste this. Okay, this will be a public. This one will be called base view model. Or am I calling them a view model base? Probably change that at some point. Okay. We have an integer, a client, secret. We don't want to know the secret, do we? Hold on. Second. So we don't want to know the secret when it comes back. We do care about the name and the description. We don't care about that because it's coming back already. It's fine to leave that annotation in there. And then we have the token lifespan where it's allowed from, and then the account. Nope. That, like that. Okay. So now here, what we're going to do is we need to have a mapper. Okay. And then we need to create it. So it's going to be a var entity equals mapper dot map client view model from my client to my client. And then you're going to say context. Nope. Is it a unit of work in here? Yep. Yes. So much nicer, Moobot. And then we're going to do clients dot insert entity. If await unit of work dot save changes async return client. Mapper dot map to my client view model of the entity. That's it. Next one here. Get client async. So we're going to do await unit of work dot clients dot get async, because I think I could do s where my s dot client ID is equal to my client ID and my client secret is equal to, and my client secret is var secret equals password hasher. Crap. Because you really don't want to bring in the... just a second. Another second. Well, I could just overwrite it. I'm looking for a method right now. Missing the new. Well, it's not that. I don't want to add the reference to identity core. So we can do that. Okay, so to avoid that, what we can do is we're going to override it. So what I want to do is I want to go back over here to my data access layer, and I want to look at my repo. And here under my repo clients, and we're going to actually override here my repo generic of my type client. Like that. And then I probably have to create the constructor like that. Okay, I want to go look at this repo generic real quick. That's fine. This is going to be iContext auth, right? But if I went back here and I looked at this one, iContext base, and that's going to be tContext, where tContext is a type of iContext base. Right? Bam. Why do you not want to add the reference? I don't want to include the identity system inside of the service because I'm trying to keep those decoupled. The identity system, it's like including entity framework into your project. So I really only am going to try to keep entity framework in the data access layer as much as possible. So the services are going to have a reference to entity framework, but identity framework is different than, entity framework is different than identity entity framework. And that's a different package. So I'm trying to isolate identity, entity framework within the data access layer. So now that I'm in here, what I should be able to do is I can do like a public virtual something, and we're going to say get client ID, and then we'll do a string called my client secret. And then we'll do a var hasher equals new password hasher. There it is. And then we're going to do var hash secret equals your hasher dot hash password on my client secret. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a await context. Oh, because it's not in the await. And then we want to do a client where my s dot client ID is equal to my client ID, and my s dot client secret is equal to my client secret. Singular default async. This needs to be changed up here to a task of my client. This is going to be an asynchronous class now. And then this needs to have the correct reference. Like that. Just like that. Get client. So now in my unit of work, I need to change this one to be a repo client. I wonder what's wrong here. We'll figure that one out in a minute. Well, let's just go ahead and try to fix some of these bugs. What is the reason you want to keep them separated? I don't want to, anytime I reference entity framework in the future, I don't want to have to use the identity entity framework. I just like to be able to use entity framework. Okay, so now I need to go look. I got a problem over here in my base data access layer in my unit of work base. No. I have a different... That one's fine. Get. That looks fine. And this one's going to be called a view model, right? Account clients, repo clients. Repo clients should have this get client. I didn't even see it. Why didn't I see it? Oh, I know why. Got it. Get client. There is no... Okay, and so it's a client ID and then a client secret. Easy enough. And that's going to be a view model, and that one is a view model coming back from my unit of work. Oh no, this should be a model entity. And then you want to do a return a mapper from my map, from my client view model to my entity. Okay, so let's make sure that we have that up here. We do. Got a few of these to fix. I don't know why this one doesn't have insert. Oh. Okay, almost there. Just error bugging chicken. It's going to keep bugging you for the binary at runtime if you're invoking the hasher, though. What do you mean? I do that one all the time. What do you mean it's going to bug me for the binary? So this one is now going to be an override async task. Well, let's go finish our bugs. Now this one says that it needs a reference to iService auth. Okay, that's where it gets really fun. So what I need to do is I have to actually make a call over to my my global dependency injector. So let me show you what I mean by that. Right here. What we need to do is we need to change this just a little bit. So we want to pass in, additionally here, an HTTP configuration file called config. System.web. Okay, let's go find out why we can't find that. Systemweb.http, that's all I need. So let's add that here. in the auth one. System web auth. See up here, there. Hey there, Yat, Tate, Knoll. Not. Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Got a really active and supportive community. Thanks for coming and checking us out. System.web.http is what it was telling me. System.web. Okay, let's find it. System.web.http not found. Right here. Let's try that. We're going to try to just install this on my web API auth. That'll fix it. Okay, we'll add this reference here. And so now that means that down here I can do my config dot. And now what it is it's my dependency resolver, right? And then it's going to be dot, and I'm going to get my service, which in our case is a type of. And we're going to do an iService auth. As iService auth. I don't know if we necessarily even need that right now. Let's see. As iService auth. There it is. So now we have successfully injected our service. Bam. All right, so now we can come back and take a look. So that's to get a client. That's to create a client. We need to do another one here, which is going to be by client ID. So we're going to have a unit of work, right? Dot clients dot get by ID. No. And that's going to be an S where my S dot client ID is equal to client ID. And that's going to come in as this So this says that this is going to return an enumerable, which is not necessarily what it is that I wanted. I wanted to get it by, so let's just go override it. Not that one. This one. So let's go override this. We're going to have another one here called public async virtual task of my client called get client. Like that. And then what we're going to do is it's going to be return await my context.clients.where my s.client ID is equal to my client ID dot single or default async. And now we need to return the mapped version of it. And because of the bad way that I have this currently, I need to move this method above. Okay. Then we have another one here called get client async. This one's super easy. It's just going to be a return await context dot unit of work dot clients dot get by ID async. Crap. And this one's going to be ID. And then we have to return the mapped version of it. Got it. Okay. And then here we have a update client. So we're passing in a client view model. So what we want to do is, Lord have mercy if I do this wrong. Moobot, I hope you're watching because I may do this wrong here. Okay, so when we do this client update, first thing I want to do is I want to get my client. So var client equals await my unit of work dot get clients dot where my s nope get by ID async client dot ID. Right? And now what we're going to do is we're going to map to it. So we're going to do a mapper.map. And we want to go from my client to my entity. And then what you want to do is you want to mark your entity is you're going to have a unit of work dot clients dot update entity. If my unit of work dot save changes is true, return. Is this what is this returning? It's returning a bool. So return await unit of work dot save async. I think that'll work. And finally, we need to delete one. So var entity equals await unit of work dot clients dot get by ID async ID unit of work dot clients dot delete entity unit of work dot save async. That's it. So let's delete our iService auth now, because we can, oops, crap. Because I can probably re-add this back in here under my like that, okay? And so now I can come back over here into my auth. This one. And now what I should be able to do is I should be able to get client async, and I should be able to pass in an ID, a client ID, or a client ID and a secret. And in our case, we have a context dot client ID and a context dot client secret. How do we get the secret? Oh, it's just the client ID. Why is this coming in as a string? Okay, so var client ID equals 0 if int dot try parse context dot client ID, and my result is going to be out client ID. So if in fact we can do that, and I think we can simplify this. So again here, so what we're going to do is we're going to look for this client ID, and we're going to say that if in fact this was an ID, then I want to get this client ID here. So we're going to say that this is right here going to be my var client. And so now if my client.redirect, so my client needs to have in it a redirect URL. This represents the URI, the redirect URI for code authorization flow. And that also needs to then go into my models, which are here. This is the redirect URL for code authorization code flow. Okay? So now if my redirect URL is equal to my context dot redirect URL, then I think we're validated right here, right? Then we're going to be context dot validated, and what are we validating is my client dot redirect URL, and that's it. Okay, so that does my making sure that I have the correct URL. Now this one is my client authorization. So this one's a little different. Let's go ahead and cut this stuff down. So what we have to first get is our client ID. And then also and then what we need to do is we need to try to get out or try get basic credentials here, our client ID and our out client secret. And if in fact that is not something we can do, then we're going to try to get them out of the form credentials. So now if in fact my client ID is null, or if my client ID is null and my client secret is null, then we're going to go ahead and say that this is validated because it's going to follow just some other type of flow that I'm going to use temporarily for my administrator account. Context.validated. All right. Otherwise, now what we need to do is we need to get this parsable, where we're going to try to parse out my context.clientID as an integer. So it's going to be an int out client ID integer. Did I get that correct? It's probably out int. It is. Okay. And now I'm going to say that if it is not, while we wait, my service auth.client dot, nope, get client async, client ID int, if this is equal to null, or it's not parsable, or the client ID int is less than 1. So we could just say less than or equal to 0. Then at this point we have an error. And we're going to say that this is an invalid client because it didn't input the right credentials, right? And we're going to say here that the message is client ID or client secret is not, and then we'll drop that a line, registered in the system. And then here we're just going to return nothing. Why are we just doing this? This just needs to be a return. All right. And now that we have that assigned, what we need to do is we need to actually assign some properties inside of the context to this request. So we're going to do a context.ownContext.set a string, and we're going to say that this one is called my client allowed origin. And we're going to pass over my client.allowed origin. And that's going to be an allowed origin. The next one is going to be a context.ownContext.set, and it's going to be of a type string. And we want to add in here an as client refresh token lifetime. And the last one here is a context.ownContext.set a string here to be my as client ID. And then finally we need to validate this user and then return. Easy enough. Now down here, this is where we're actually granting credentials, right? So here, the first one is that we need to get the ID, var client ID equals my context dot ownContext dot get the string here as my as client ID. Remember when we assigned that above? And then the next piece is that I need to get the password. Well, that comes from the context, right? So now if my string dot is null or white space of my context dot password, there's going to be an error. A password must be sent. And then we want to have a period on that. And then what we want to do is we want to return. Acidy says, hey, sup, Rob? Working on Ally.chat. Hey, how you doing? I'm working on the whole PHS infrastructure, which is incorporates Ally.chat. So yeah, I'm putting up the OAuth server right now. How are you doing, man? It's good to see you. This is going to tell me that this is returning because it says that it needs to have a task, right? It will. So now down here, I need to get the account. If my await of my... Well, let's get the account. That's going to be awaiting my service auth. And that's going to be called a get account async. And we need to pass in the user ID here. But we have another one which we can do is our username and password. So I should have context.username and then context.password. So if my account is null, context dot set error, and we're going to set this one as an invalid grant, and we're going to say that this one is the username or password is incorrect. I'm doing great, SMB. Just working away, making some forward progress on this thing. Hoping to get through the authorization today, and that way we'll be able to work on the modules tomorrow. So now we'll have the user equals my await. Oh no, we already got that as the account. Don't worry about that. And now what we need to do is we want to use my clients, which is equal to my service auth dot get account clients. We don't have that. So let's go add that. Public virtual async task I collection client view model. Get account clients. Async string user ID integer client ID. Okay. And so now what we need to do is we want to have a we have a unit of work in here. Unit of work dot accounts get account we want to pass in my user ID here. And there's my clients. So what we want to do now is we want to make a list of my view models. And then what we want to do is an account dot clients dot for each. No, so we have to do a to list. So for each one of the clients, what we want to do is we want to do a view models dot add mapper dot map my client view model of my type S. And we could probably save some time with that by doing that and then cutting that and then coming back up here and going like that. And now we can return my view models. So then we'll add this. C, Control and Shift. Up to the interface. And now this one is going to be my user ID. And then my client ID. Client ID and equals my 0. Var parsable equals, it doesn't even matter, does it? We can just do int 32.parse, and we want to get my, let's just do that. Because we already know it's going to be perfect. Okay, and now, let's see, clients, identity. If my Okay, so now if it's not string dot is empty or a white space of my client ID, then what you want to do is you want to say if there isn't a client where my client ID is equal to my client ID int. Wait, this already is returning just the one I want, right? So here, what we can do here is we're going to do a where s is equal to my s dot client ID is equal to my client ID dot toList. Yeah. Okay. This is wrong. And then we want to map it from my client view model to my client. We're going to call this my entity. Like that, and then we'll get rid of this collection nonsense. Okay, and then we probably need to change this. Looks pretty good. I don't know what that means. You'll have to wait. Hey, thank you for that song request. Not sure if you guys can hear them. I think I have the sounds turned off for you guys. So that's looking pretty good. Now my if my client's any dot client, if all right. So now if my client is not null, if my client is null, then what you want to do is you need to not allow this. So it's a context.set error, and it's going to say an invalid account client. This account is not registered to this client. And then we'll return. Otherwise, we need to add in our properties. And so what do we have? We have a authentication properties called properties. We have a authentication ticket, which is a ticket. We're also going to have a string allowed origin. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have this identity. And that's going to be a new claims identity. And we want to do a context.options.authentication type. We also want to do a identity.addClaim. This is where we add all of our claims, right? New claim, claim types.name, context.username, identity.addClaim, new claim, claim types.name identifier, context, sorry, it's a user.userID. Oh, what else? Identity.addClaim, new claim, claim types, dot, nope. We're specifying this one as sub. And this one's going to be the username again. And then we want to have our roles. We need to have another one here, get account roles async. Public virtual async task of my string called get account roles async. Var roles equals my await of my unit of work dot accounts dot get account roles of my user ID. Are you implementing OpenID? No, I'm not implementing. I'm implementing OAuth 2.0. And now we need to come back in here into my iService. And we need to dump this one right here. Okay. And this needs to be passing in my user ID. And then I think I do a for each one of these, right? So it's going to be a roles.for2list.for each. That's where am I? And then I'm probably just going to want to add a new identity.add claim, new claim. And then it's going to be a claim types.role. And it's going to be a S. Finally, just a few more things here. If we actually didn't pass in a client ID, then what we want to do here is we want to set my allowed origin equal to my context.onContext.get, this string that we put in here called my access control allowed origin. And if my allowed origin is equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to set my allowed origin equals to everything. And now my properties that I already declared earlier is going to be equal to this new authentication properties, which is a new dictionary of my type string and string. And we're going to do my username, and then also my context.username. Finally, my ticket is equal to my new authentication ticket, which just passes that identity that I created and that properties. And then finally, we're going to validate it, the ticket, and we'll return. And if in fact our client ID is null, then what we're going to do is we're going to do an allowed origin equals my context.onContext.get the string of my as client allowed origin. And now what I want to do is if my allowed origin is equal to null, then I want to set it again. And then we're going to do another one for properties here. I wonder if I could just do, I can. Props equals another one of these authorization properties, which is going to be a new dictionary of my string and then my string. And this is going to be an as client ID, context.client ID. And if it is null, then do a string.empty. And then we'll finish up our ticket.new authorization ticket. And I'm going to drop this stuff down here so that I can save a little code. And there it is. Like that, okay? And that set up my granting my client my resource owner credentials. And that's one of the longer ones that I have. My grant client credentials, do I even have that thing? Let me see, hold on. I think I currently have that one turned off. Or I'm not even overriding it. Let me think. Yeah. So all this one is doing is it's adding. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Okay. We do actually have a couple more that we need to override in this one. So the first one is we have a token endpoint. And in token endpoint, what we need to do is we need to have a for each. Oops. And it's each one of these things in my property. And now this is actually going to be in my context.properties.dictionary. What I need to do is I need to do an context.additional response parameters. And I want to add in my new property.key. And also my property.value. So that way I'm adding in each one of my properties that I added above. And then we're going to return right here. Return await task dot from result object of null. Will this code be available in Git? Maybe. Maybe not. This is actually for my own little website, but it could be. I'm not sure. Put a subscription model up or something like that if you guys are interested. I don't know. I have no idea. Here we go. Return from index. This is just going to be return. That's it. So it's a await task.from result of my object. And this just stops an asynchronous. Because it's already been validated. No. What it is that your... Okay, what you have to do is you have to get your context.client ID. Actually, you've already been granted this, so you're okay. I'm okay with exactly how this is, okay? And now my token endpoint is fine. And then you also have a grant refresh token. This one. So what do we have to do here is we have to get our client equals our context.ticket.properties.dictionary, and we called it my as client ID. And then we're going to get our client current equals my context.client ID. If my client does not equal to my client current, context set error invalid client. Refresh token is issued to a different client ID. And then we're going to return. Await task dot from result. All right, and now we want to change the auth ticket here for refresh token requests. So we make a new claims identity here for my context.ticket.identity, and then we're going to add the claim to it. Make a new ticket for that. And then finally, there's my new ticket. We're going to validate it. And then we're going to return. And that is my authorization server. Now we only have a couple of other little things that we need to do here. So if I come back and I look at my auth startup, here's another one. Authorization code provider, right? So we want to do this create and receive authorization code. So let's move these up here. And if we look at this authentication provider, right? Authorization token provider, all right? So let's come back over here to this one. We need to add this stuff in here. And this one, just like we saw a second ago, is going to be coming from my authentication token provider. We'll add dictionaries to this thing. These are just temporaries. This should actually be stored in a database, but for now it's fine. Okay, let me just comment this for a second, and then we're going to implement the interface. So we have something for create async, for receive, and for receive async. So this one here is for create. Let's uncomment all this. Yeah. Okay, we're going to set this token, and then here, this one's just going to have a await task.from result object null. And then this one here is my create, my receive, sorry. And then we'll put that same one here. And then the await task dot from result of my object of type null. Easy enough. Probably we're going to need to add in this into the database, but for now this is fine. And now over here we're going to do a new simple authorization code provider. And here's our last one, my refresh tokens. This one, create, receive. Let's pull these two out, move these down here. And remember that this is of the same type, so it's another authentication token provider. Okay. Now I need to implement this. And now what I need is create async, receive async, and these two are going to be completely wrong. And then I want to add my okay, and I need to pass in my iService auth. And let's add in my reference. Okay. Hey, Patrick. Welcome back. And now what we need to do is we need to add in our creates. So here, under my create async, this is going to be a little fun. We're going to say if my context does not have a ticket with the properties that match what's in the key, which looks like s.key.equals as, if you remember, client ID. Then we'll just return on that. So now we're going to get my client ID. Hey, thank you for that song request. All right. Okay, we got that. Now what we need to do is we need to get the refresh token ID. We'll just make a new one for that. And that's a little formatting for the GUID. And then what we want to do is we want to get the token lifetime. And then we're going to create the token. Hey, Ronnie. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Is it normal that we can't hear it? We used to be able to hear it. For today, yeah, because I'm putting these up on YouTube, so I don't want to have the audio muted. So my refresh token view model, does that currently exist? Nope. And this is going to be inheriting from my view model base. And it's a public. All right. And now when I look at this, we're going to do it. But column is a... That's fine. Looking good. And now we're going to have my, I'm just going to assign these instead of mapping them, I think, right? So my client ID here is going to be equal to my client ID, right? My subject is going to be equal to my context.ticket.identity.name. my issued UTC is going to be equal to my datetime.utc now. And then my expires UTC equals datetime.utc now dot add minutes. And we're going to convert to double my refresh token lifetime. But let's go ahead and add this up here to be a var current time. And now, I think we need to actually create that. So var result equals the await, and we want to do a service auth, and then it's going to be called create refresh token. We want to pass in that token. And then finally, if my result is not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to set the token to my refresh token ID. So let's go to my service auth. We want to do a create refresh token. We need to pass in the type refresh token view model. Okay, so now here what we want to do is we're going to first look for an existing token. But we need to have something in here called get refresh tokens, right? So let's go ahead and we're just going to override this one again. This one has lots of overrides in it. Repo refresh tokens. Now it's going to be bringing in a generic repo, and we're going to say that this is of my type refresh token. I context auth. There we go. And then we need to implement that special constructor. These classes are too high with all that token. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So down here, now what we want to do is we want to read a refresh token, right? So we got a public, there's going to be a virtual async, and then we're going to have a task of my refresh token, and that's going to be called get refresh token async. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to get your refresh token, and that's going to be an await of your context dot refresh tokens dot where my s. Forgot to add system.link. Client ID is equal to my string, client ID, string, and then the subject. And s.subject is equal to my subject dot singular default async. Why don't you say... Okay. Okay, so the problem is that over here in this unit of work now, for my, this one, this is called a repo refresh tokens. Got that? It still is a repo generic, so my unit of work here never got swapped. And so now it'll work. And what we're going to pass over here now is my the client ID, and then probably your subject with nothing else applied to it. And that should be your existing token, right? So now if this is null, then you're currently not authorized. So you're going, if it is not null, then you want to delete it. So below this, we need to have a public virtual async task of my bool, which is going to be called delete refresh token async. And that's going to be passing over a hashed ID. And that's going to be your token dot hashed ID. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to create your model of this. You're going to take your refresh token that you had received. And then you want to, in your unit of work, you want to insert it. And then you want to save the changes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return the mapper.map of the refresh token view model of the model. And then let's go ahead and change this to be called entity. Okay, so in this one, what you want to do here when you delete it is you need to first get your token. And I don't have one that allows me to override it with a hashed ID. So let's go check that out. Well, I don't think I need it because I can probably just... Well, if that's the case, then do you really even need to have this? Yeah, that's fine. It don't matter. Okay, it just helps a little bit. And now here, if my token is not equal to null, then you want to remove it. And to do that, you're going to await your unit of work auth dot refresh tokens dot delete token dot ID. Nope. Let's go ahead and go over here to this. And we'll do this as a hashed ID. Okay. Okay, like that. And then we're going to delete it. And then we're going to return it. Looks good. Let's go fix this. How many more errors do we have? So here, this is now where we're at. So we can get rid of this because we have a new simple refresh token provider. And just like before, it's a config.dependencyresolver.getService. And that's going to be a type of my iServiceAuth as iServiceAuth. And we forgot to bring these up into the interface, so it's yelling at me. And then we'll get rid of all this. Is that going to build? It's very close. This one needs to be inheriting from iService base. Almost there. Few errors. All right, that did it. Okay, no errors. We'll have to update all of our projects here at some point, but for now it's okay. I think we still need to add in the... Yeah, we don't have a receive yet. Just like we don't have a create up here, right? Because everything's asynchronous. And so now here, our receive async. Okay, so here what we're going to have is a var allowed origin equals my context.on context.get of my string called my as client allowed origin. If my context.on context.response.headers.any access control allowed origin, and then we're going to pass a new array with the allowed origin in it. Using system.link. Interesting. S. Ooh, I got this all screwed up here. Let me try that again. If my context.on context.response.headers.any s, where my s.key is equal to my access control allowed origin, context.on context.response.headers.add access control allowed access control allow origin new allowed origin. Okay. Let's see, a couple questions here. Can you explain MVC ASP.NET? Says Hostman. Sure, ASP.NET is Microsoft's. So when you're building a website, you have a couple different pieces of it. If you have a database layer, if you're working with data, you have a application layer. You have a I use IIS, so a web server, so to say. So ASP.NET is tech developed by Microsoft that essentially allows you to create web apps, and it's in C#. MVC is a architecture format, so to say, called Model View Controller, where you just have different things in different places to try to limit their interactions. ASP.NET is a tech for Microsoft for creating was using traditional. That's a better way to describe it. Thank you. Okay. So that's good. And now what we need to do is we need to get our hashed token ID equals, and then this, I need to have some kind of a helper for there. So we'll do that in a second. And then I need to have a refresh token here equals awaiting my service auth to get my get refresh. Oh my God, I don't have it set up. Nope. Let's go back over here. I need to have in here a public virtual async task called my refresh token view model, and this is going to be called a get refresh token async. It's going to pass over a hashed ID. And so what we have here is that we're going to have a token. And we're going to await here on my unit of work dot refresh tokens dot get refresh token ID there. And then we're going to map it. All right. And then up here, we need to add it. Like that, okay? Get refresh token async, and we want to pass in my hashed token ID, right? Because if in fact my refresh token is null, does not equal to null, then what you want to do is you want to deserialize that ticket for your refresh token dot protected ticket. Just a second. This refresh token has to have on it another thing that I don't currently have called a protected ticket. So it's there. Okay. And now you have a result and then we'll delete the old token. All right, so now the only thing that we have to do is this needs to be marked as asynchronous. And then this hash token ID, we need to actually have another thing in here called a SHA helper, something that's going to allow us to, and we'll put this inside of my data access layer here in the core. Well, let's put it in the core data access layer, and we'll just put it in here. And we're going to call this a SHA helper. And we're going to say that this thing is a static and a public. And then I guess we'll have one thing in here called public static string, and we'll call it get hash. We're going to call that input. All right. My kitty wants to type on the keyboard now. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff I missed. Let me see here. So instead of JavaScript, you use C#. More like PHP, you use C#. Yeah, that's the right way. Instead of PHP, you use C#. I still use JavaScript and HTML and CSS. But then I use C# for the backend, but you can also use Razor, which is part of the view models with ASP.NET, where you can do C# in lieu of HTML. JavaScript only interacts with web pages, not the server, as its client side. PHP is more comprehensive. I don't know, so kind of like my JavaScript. Oh, I got a follow there. Who followed me? Izamar. Good. Thank you so much for that follow. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. We've got a really active and supportive community. Make sure you guys check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I use JavaScript, though, for AJAX calls, which grabs a lot of the data, but then in the end, that's still hitting C#. JavaScript's going to be on the server side now. There we go. Oh, yeah, it can be used because of Node.js on the server side. Okay, let's get our hash here. So we're going to say var hash equals my new, and here we go, SHA. 256, crypto service provider. Var byte value equals my encoding dot UTF-8 dot get bytes of my input. And then also you want to get your byte hash. And then you want to convert it to base 64 string. And we want to get the, like that, but why can't I get data access layer, unit of work, SHA helper is inside of this DIL, should be right here. Where did I put it? It's in the core data access layer. There it is. Okay. And that should do it. Let me go ahead and build it. As soon as this builds, we're going to run it. We're going to get a token, see where we're at that point. We're going to have to update some of these references, but that's not a big deal. So what I want to do now is I want to get it actually running. So let's go to the web API to the auth server here. And what I want to do is come in here to my startup. And we're going to change this just a little bit. So instead of doing this, I want to do my var http config equals my new HTTP configuration. And so now the first thing I can do is I can register my web API config. Do I not have that in here? So let's make one. This thing needs to be a static, right? And then we have a public static void register. And this comes in the template. Configuration here called config. We're going to pass in the custom configuration that I'm creating. And then what I want to do is I want to suppress default host authentication. We'll add my... So I think I have to add O in here. Let me make sure. Microsoft ASP.NET Web API ON. Okay. We want to add in here my OAuth defaults. Like that. And then we want to add in the routes. Like that. And then we have to add in the properties here. All right, and then here, defaults. Okay, looks pretty good, right? And then here you have to add in your JSON formatter and then you're good here. So config.formatters.oftype JSON media type formatter. First, JSON formatter dot serializer settings dot contractor reviver contract resolver, there we go, is equal to new camel case property names contract resolver. Okay, so that registers those. Okay, now we need to get our config here. Now we need to get our Unity container. So we'll make a custom one here. And then we'll make a new I don't have Unity installed on this one, so we need to install package unity.webapi. I'll enter job done. What do you mean? I'll enter? Not sure what you mean. And now we can do a Unity, where did it go? Config.register components. And now I'm actually going to modify this register components that they give me. I want to add in my HTTP configuration here. And so I'm actually going to bring in this container as a reference. I don't need that. And then here, I'll just add all my types. We don't need that either. So my types, though, were already defined in my other one, which was my resources one here for the... Okay. Sorry, this is a Unity container that you're passing in. I don't know what I was thinking there. So here in your now you need to add in some references to your context auth, your services auth, and your unit of work auth. So those. Okay. And now that we have that container defined, he wasn't always this fast. This came with time. I've been coding in C# for over a year and I've been clenching myself. Just takes time and practice. You'll have that thought up in your head before you can even type it enough. Yeah, I've been doing it a while, so I just kind of know how to like carve through it, I guess. So we've registered our types now for Unity, right? And now I need to do my HTTP config.dependency resolver is equal to my new Unity dependency resolver of type container. Like that. Okay. And then finally, we need to do our configure auth, which is my app and my HTTP config. And I already did that. And then finally, we're going to do my app.use web API of my HTTP config. Now, we should be running. So let me make sure that the database is updated now. We have this set up as my default project. Want to add a migration to my domain. checking for model changes prior to auth implementation. C++ takes more time to kind of do the same things. Okay, we got a problem with the build. Okay, we have 8 errors that we need to correct. It's probably all namespaces. Or nothing. This thing needs entity framework on it. So let's go to NuGet packages, add in entity. And now we should be good to go. We can rebuild it. Okay. Got a couple of little errors there, but now we should be able to run it. Oh, I should be able to update my database, right? Checking for any model changes prior to auth implementation. God damn it, I misspelled it. Oh well. All right, so I got too many problems right now because the framework is different. So we want to change my framework to 4.52. And then we'll rebuild it again. If it wasn't for those pointers, C++ would be nice. All right, here we go. We're going to add it. Changes to the... Checking for changes to the model prior to the implementation of the auth server. Come on. It says that I got an explicit migration pending. And this is looking at the right piece, right? Crap. I still don't have... Let's try it again. Sorry about that. So I think what I want to do, because I kind of messed that up a little bit, was I want to come in here into my domain. And I want to come into my migrations and my config, and we'll just go ahead and pull all this. And then let's go back over here and we'll look at the databases. And we'll delete this one. And then we're going to run it again. Let us smoke studios. All right, almost there. We're going to update the database. Oh, we need to add migration. We're going to call it the init. I also probably need to add this stuff in right here, right? That looks good. Seed looks good. There's the seeding. Okay. Then we're going to update the database. Here we go. We can run it. Okay, it's running up here. It's going to fail. And then we're going to, there we go, perfect. Oh, it conflicts with assembly, so we need to stop it. So this is a little trick to solve this. Is because I changed the namespace of the application. I come back in here, I go, and I want to open the folder up. I'm going to get rid of bin and the OBJ. I want to double check to make sure that all this is set right. Check for any authorizations in this project. There's not. Or we'll clean it, rebuild it, and run it. I agree, Let Us Smoke Studios. You said it best. When you learn a skill that can't be bought, but only acquired through hard work and time and dedication, you feel a lot better about your own self-growth, and that goes for anything. Looks like I lost some of my references now because I updated to the newer framework. So now we need to do the package uninstall, reinstall thing. Web API auth. Update, package, reinstall, project name, phs.webapi.auth. Hey there, Keith. I like to eat paint chips. Come on. Have to wait for these packages to run, then it should be working. I'll turn on the air conditioner. Just gotta wait a minute for all this to finish. I hate that the paths are in this other file. We'll pull that too. Binary is too high level for me. We don't want to override any of that, so no to all. And now it should work. Okay, here's my auth server. There, it's forbidden, so it's working. And then we're going to check it at 11625. And then it's at OAuth on this one, /token. It's failing at line 79 of simple authorization token provider. So let's take a quick peek. Right here. Let's find out why. Here it is. Service auth is null. So it's not getting its service auth reference here because it's not doing dependency injection. It's not firing here. Huh. Just another second here. Yup. Yup. Just another second. Because when this thing is hitting my simple authorization token provider, server provider, grant authorization password must be sent, right here, I'm being dependent on my IMapper as well. Oh. Wait, IMapper? But IMapper is being created, so this is wrong. And that's wrong. There is no IMapper here. That probably will fix it. Wasn't here last time. What features does the bot should have when it's finished? It's essentially going to be a routing bot, so it'll take messages from different RSS sources, whether that's YouTube chat or Twitch or Discord, and it'll route it to endpoint of your choosing. Essentially, so it's kind of like a routing bot. There we go. So now that's working. And then also it'll be working with my overlay and then kind of running the infrastructure behind my company. So here we go. There, it fired, and we still didn't get our service auth again. That's fine. Look at startup. So let's go back to what the controller saw. Let's just step through it. So service auth. I want to step through this real quick. Let's just add this one in here just for poops and giggles. You know what it is? I know what it is. I know explicitly what it is. There's a bunch more of these that I currently don't have in here, right? I'm dumb. So it's these, and then it's also these ones. Well, you definitely have this one. And then you forgot the other two for these two. So these are all the types for the user managers that we created. If you remember, we made custom ones. And I'm just pulling these from a template I have next to me. Okay, this one is my PHS role manager. Like that. All right, let's try it again. All right, it fired here. We're gonna get a, yep, and now it's not null. Oh, come on. So it says that it can't go from, oh, account is null. Bullshit, it's null. try it again one more time. Account. It definitely got an account here with a user ID, and now it should be mapping that to my account view model. But it never did it because in my service base, I never called here initialize auto mapper. Now it'll work. Here we go. So my service auth needs Newtonsoft, okay? So that's over here in my modules auth service. You want to add in my Newtonsoft. Let's try it again. It looks like a lot of colors to me too. Does not match the assembly reference in service auth. Crap. So we're going to make all of these things the newer one. Just give it a second. Come on, Nougat. There we go. Come on, baby. Okay. Let's try it again. Bam! Now it's working. No username, which is fine. Oh, come on. What value can't be null? Come on. Client ID can't be null. So here, we'll do this. So if it's null, then we'll do string.empty. Come on. No. It doesn't like that. So let's come back here. Oh, I get why. Where are you checking to see if you get a client ID here? Hold on. My simple authorization provider. This is under my grant resource authorization credentials. That's getting set. So right here. If my client ID does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to do this. Let's just steal this. Okay. And then we'll get this one in here. And now this one's going to be your for account clients. So you need to be able to get right here your clients, right? So you need to have this other line right here, which says that you need to get your user account clients here. So if I look here, get account clients users, get account client async. So that's here. And then it's going to be a client ID. So this goes here. It's going to be a user ID here. Account.id, user ID, right? And then we're going to have a client ID, which is going to be client ID, which is going to be an int32.parse. Okay? And then if client does not equal to null, perfect. Okay, let's try it again. And there it is. So now we are successfully getting our tokens. Perfect. Well, yeah. So that's exciting, right? Being able to get that. But for me, guys, I think that that's going to be it for me. Whoops, what's that all about? So thank you guys for staying with me today. I'll be back again tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. Make sure you come back, check us out. We'll keep going forward with this. I'm working on the infrastructure for Pixel Horror Studios. Hello there, Yana, Seattle. Thanks for coming today, guys. We've been going for, oh, I don't even know how long we've been going today, like 6 hours. Click the follow if you haven't yet. Make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. If you have any questions, it's a great place to put them, as well as in the channel. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning PST. And then also make sure that you check out IndieDev, which is a group I'm a part of here on twitch.tv. Thanks again from all the viewers out there at Live Coding, as well as the viewers here at that have been with us from Twitch. And until tomorrow, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.